Goddamn. So I need to do... Continuing this quest. You picked the perfect time to arrive. Remember that unconscious boy who was resting here? Well, while you were gone, he finally woke up. He'd been lying there, still as a stone. So you can imagine my surprise when I was tidying up the room and I saw him staring out of the corner of my eye. He seemed confused and disoriented at first, asking me who I am and where he was. So I sat with him and tried to put him at ease. It seemed to me that some fresh air might have helped clear my head. So I brought him outside. You know, now that... No, something sold. Now that I see the two of them together, I wonder if these two kids are siblings. They really share a resemblance, don't you think? The boy and girl who were unconscious are now awake and chatting animatedly with each other. Talk with them and see if you can learn more about what happened. Oh, right here. I'm telling you, sis, I just had to do it. I heard that if you can find an earring on one of the snowmen, you'll be able to become a hero. Are you kidding me? Even if that was true, why'd you just leave me behind and run off like that? I told you, you need to stay close and hold my hand. It seems the two kids are actually siblings. As you listen to them bicker, the young boy notices you approach. Hey, who's this? Do you know them? Don't be so rude. They're the one who saved me. Sigh. I'm really sorry about this. I swear, I can't take him anywhere. Wait, what is the outfits look? Yeah, what is the outfits they are wearing? Thanks for saving my sister, even if she sounds more like my mom right now. But why would you want to talk to me? What are the last things you remember? You tell the boy the town guard found him unconscious on the ground, and when no one could wake him, he was moved to the inn. Wait, I was unconscious? Ah, how long have I been sleeping here? Oh, I just remembered what I was doing before, and some other weird stuff. I ran out of the village because I wanted to find the snowman with the earring. My sis was with me at the start, but I ran ahead and lost her. Then I saw this group of foxes just past the healer's house, so I wanted to see what they were doing. That was when I saw this huge animal, kinda like a deer. It stretched its head low until it touched one of the foxes, and then I saw the fox fall down. That really surprised me, and then the deer raised its head to look right at me. I came running over. It happened really quick, and then comes this stuff that's harder to remember. It was kind of like I was dreaming. I dreamed I was, some kind of stick? Yeah, like a long stick from a tree. But I had other sticks with me, and we were all friends, so it wasn't lonely. But the floor kept shaking, and we bumped and tumbled over each other. It was kind of fun. So I was a stick, and I was zooming around like, is there a faster way to move than running? Huh? Sprinting? Flying? No. It was even faster than those. Like you get ready to run and then you don't even move and boom, you're there. You mean like teleporting? What are you going on about? I know you've got this attention span of a gnat sometimes, but at least try to make sense when someone's asking you a question. No, that's right. It was just like teleporting with magic. I was popping in and out of all sorts of places. It was totally cool. Oh, and I remember some place that was really, really cold. I don't know where. But all my stick friends went there without me. Ugh, can't believe I got ditched like that. Since it felt like a dream, it's all kind of foggy, and I don't remember it really well. But it's true. Then the next thing I knew, I woke up in a bed here in the inn. Ah, you don't believe me? You've spoken with heroes, magistrates, and deities, but somehow this child is harder to follow than any of them. From what you've gleaned, he seems to be saying that the deer turned him into a piece of wood? then teleported all over? It almost sounds like the deer was going around trying to gather souls by turning them into wood. Uh, talk about. Wait, what? You can't just say goodbye out of nowhere like that, especially when you're not even leaving. Okay. I'm so sorry. My brother, well, he talks to everyone the same way. I hope he didn't upset you. Thank you so much for taking care of him. He's probably a bit easier to handle when he's out cold, isn't he? Well, now that I finally found him, it's long past time we headed home. Mother and father must be worried sick, wondering where we've gone. My brother's the sort of kid who can get so wound up. Ah. He gets so wound up that he practically doesn't even feel pain when he's excited. So the first thing I'll do when we get back is look him over to make sure he's not hurt. You're one of those Milesians, aren't you? Thank you so much for taking the time to help us. Oh, and tell Chief Duncan thanks too. You really look like you've gone through a lot. So I hope you can get some rest now. No one deserves it more than you. Goodbye now. The girl holds her brother by the hand as the two walk down the road towards their home. Go see Duncan and tell him that both of the town's unconscious guests have been awakened. Ah, jeez, that loud. I think I probably need to turn it down. Oh, playing the harp. I was wondering, like, what is that? Ah, I was just about to send militiamen out to meet you. Has something happened? Uh, goodness, is that true? Old tale, one heard long time ago, though there are some things about our present circumstances that even this wouldn't account for. If indeed it accounts for anything at all. That was a rather long preamble, but have you heard the name Kilik? Kilich? I don't know. Hard to understand some of these. Probably doesn't ring any bells, does it? I doubt it would for most. Kilich is the god of the northern winds, and to her sacred deer she gives the task of gathering firewood to burn. 'Tis she who is said to send the cold winds down from the mountains each winter. If you've ever read the book The Tier Chanel Environs, I believe it makes mention of her. Now, Khalij may be the god of the northern winds, but the folklore also ascribes her some dominion over time and seasons. Among her roles is gathering up of time that has passed, the spent days of each year, to burn in her fire. Wait, hold on. Is this thing properly set? Or just realized? Uh, okay, so it should now be set on Mabinogi. Okay. Thought it didn't change. Okay, in the old legends, Kelly goes around gathering firewood to feed her hearth over the course of the winter. The story goes that the more wood she collects, the longer winter will be that year. And the wood Kelly burns, as I mentioned, represents the time that has gone by through spring, summer, and autumn. The task of gathering this fuel is carried out by the deer who serve Kilich. And it was after you first told me of that. Oh, Jesus, what the heck? Suddenly went up in volume there. Told me of that strange deer that I recalled this old legend. But here is where the reality seems to depart from the myth. In the tales, Kilich's influence is limited to the winter. No matter how much wood Kilich gathers, there has never been any telling of the stories where she would send forth her frigid winds out of season. And we're experiencing right now. As we're experiencing right now. And all that Killish burns is the wood that represents the old year. She has never been known to cause anyone harm in gathering her fuel. I now strongly suspect that Killish or some entity like her has had a hand in these events. But if it truly is the Killish of legend, then her nature has grown different from everything mankind has known of her up to now. I know not what these portends, but I would bid you be cautious. But you can rest assured in this. You can rest assured in this. At least we've had no sightings of that deer since then. The chill is still hanging over the countryside, but that's nothing we can't handle with a few extra blankets and a healthy stock of firewood. At least we found a way to wake those children, and that takes the greatest burden off my heart. That's all I can say for now. Stay safe out there, and for goodness sakes, bundle up. I'm wearing a robe. Dear child, are you the last one? I thought one more hadn't made the journey with you. Who is this? Their face is covered. They must have been waylaid. Tisk tisk. Well, it's no matter. The work is already complete. You have done your part well, my child. You are dismissed. What? I teleported again. Go on and rest. I have finished giving shape to my world. What? What's happening? And within this domain, my will shall hold sway over all. Oh yeah, there's that cat. Oh, that was weird. Okay, what's next? Never know sometimes if you need to relog or change channel. Okay. So now I have to go to the association room, which means I can do this. Alright. This. Which one was it? To upgrade, I need more of this one. Okay, I need so many more for that. Okay, so now I need to talk to Leor. Ah, there you are, Zenwald. I've been waiting for you. I heard that you've been busy looking into that business with the strange blue deer. It's fortunate that not too many more incidents have been reported, but all the same, I worry about you overextending yourself with the litany of tasks you take on. I'd like to get Arcana into people's hands as soon as we can, precisely because of things like this. You may be wondering why our association didn't involve itself with the investigation. The unfortunate truth is that it's difficult for the Arcana Association to involve itself in external matters, at least as we are right now. We're a fledgling organization without any major achievements to our name, and without a good reputation or list of accomplishments to lean on, it would be difficult to simply appear on the scene and offer our help. That's nothing you need to worry yourself about, though. You're already a great help in our ongoing research and development of Arcana. As the people in charge, the administrative duties rest on my shoulders. Anyway, I called you here for two reasons. The first is to remind you to keep putting your Arcana through their paces. The second is that I wanted to let you know that I've now fully prepared my hypothesis on how we might strengthen Arcana links beyond their current limits. Considering the properties of smoldering threads, our base reinforcement material of choice, I figured it would be wise to request your help. Before we jump into the thick of it, I wanted to check in with you about your experiences with Arcana. Have you gotten used to using them? Does it come more or less naturally now? Yep. Seems okay. Definitely still a lot to do. Ah, that's good to hear. Always a positive sign when the product lives up to the hype. And if you're pleased with the benefits, so am I. And who knows, they might even prove vital in whatever the future has in store for you. I'll keep at my research in the hopes that we can fulfill the promise of Arcana as a source of strength for everyone. Anyway, let's move along to the hypothesis I spoke of earlier. Actually, before I do that, would you mind if I tidied up the room a bit? It just hit me how cluttered it's gotten while I've been absorbed in my research. This should only take a few minutes. Excellent. I promise I'll make it quick. I've asked our colleagues to help me gather a few things I need, so I'm the only one here at the moment. That is, however, partially by design. Admittedly, I would feel more comfortable sharing my recent research with the others once we finally have a foundation more stable than just my theories and postulations. Having accurate records and proven information not only makes it easier to guide the discussion, but it also serves to establish trustworthiness. As the person heading up this association, I consider it vital to build such trust. What I'm about to tell you still belongs to the realm of pure conjecture. The reason I called you here was because as someone who's already putting our Arcana research through its paces, I figured there was no one better than you to advise me on how I might best prove this hypothesis. Also, depending on what we discover, I may require your assistance in a more physical capacity. Now, according to my hypothesis, once you've advanced your Arcana link to the 5th stage, you will find yourself unable to enhance your crest any further. For reasons yet unknown, the crest cannot be further improved with the methods we presently have at our disposal. Does that mean we've reached the end? That Arcana can never go beyond this stage? Well, if that's the conclusion we reach, we might as well close up shop here. Tell the Queen we're terribly sorry we could only accomplish this much and go home. But I recently don't intend to hang it up without trying anything and everything I can think of. And I suspect you feel much the same. That's why, lately, I've been going back to the fundamentals of Arcana in the hopes of finding a way to push past this ceiling and help the crest grow to new levels of complexity. Now, if you'll recall, there was a reason that when I first sought a way to bolster the Arcana's crest, I looked for a substance that took the form of a flame. Do you happen to remember why that was? Well, it has been a hot minute. When we founded the association, I remember thinking that all the information must have been a bit much to take in. But I'm pleased to see that you remain a passionate student of Arcana. It makes me proud of what we've been able to accomplish. To give a brief summary, the reason why we use Scorching Crest to unlock Arcana's links is firstly to expand the complexity of the design, which allows a greater amount of power to course through it. Second, but no less important, is the bolstering the Arcana in this way makes them safer to use. Toward that end, we looked for a substance capable of both containing energy and interacting with the intangible, something we could manipulate so that we could utilize it for our needs. What we ended up with was a flame, seemingly weak and volatile, yet potent enough to catalyze changes in the Arcana. Now, if you join me over here, over to the Arcana Enkindling Lectern and speak with Leor. Where's a Lowry? I don't know. You may recall this familiar crest from our earlier research. Reaches into his pocket and pulls out a crinkled piece of paper with a rough sketch of an Arcana crest. You remember seeing this image before, back when the association was being founded. Allow me to reference this image as an example. Even if you reinforce your Elemental Night Arcana to the 5th stage, the crest won't appear as complex as it does in the imaged rendering as it does in this imagined rendering of it. The reason for that is about as straightforward as you would expect. While the application of Scorching Crest serves to reinforce the areas of the Arcana that see heavier strain due to conducting larger amounts of energy, there are still basic structural limits on how much power can flow through the crest. When I realized that, my mind turned back to the materials we use to reinforce the Arcana, the smoldering threads, which we weave into Scorching Crests, eventually hit a point of diminishing returns due to the limitations of their elements. In essence, we may have done as much as we can do with the properties of fire alone. I spent a great deal of time pondering this without much to show for it until one day, I happened upon a cat in front of the castle, playing with a braided length of cord. That's when I had the thought that we might be able to use something akin to braiding to achieve further Arcana links. A braid, though made of individual threads, becomes something thicker and stronger. But in our case, a truly effective braid would require twisting together the threads we know with threads of some other type. And that's where I reached a point at which I realized I need your help. Smoldering threads have certain properties and characteristics that make them ideal as a base material for augmenting Arcana crests. In order to ensure compatibility with the reinforcement we've already performed, any new material should ideally possess as many similar attributes as possible to the smoldering thread already in use. One of the most convenient features of smoldering threads is that due to your contact with the Arcana flame, they're practically drawn to you, like cat hair to my trousers. What? But beyond that, there are other properties to think of. Let's focus on the most elementary of them all, fire. This may sound like a random question, but what comes to mind when you think of fire? I promise, I'm going somewhere with this. Light and heat, transformation and conversion, pure energy. Drives ocean and causes them to go up in flames. I guess light and heat? Right. Energy released via burning takes one of those two forms. Moving along, if our goal is to reinforce Arcana to withstand a greater amount of power, what properties, attributes, or element do you think we presently lack? Something hard and durable, something more stable in form, something cooler like ice? I guess stability? Or something that's able to sustain? Wait, if our goal is to reinforce Arcana to withstand a greater amount of power, something hard and durable? I thought much the same, but when you think about it, it seems implausible, doesn't it? To find something that possesses all the qualities of the smoldering threads while simultaneously being their opposite in many ways. Oh my gosh. It's as though we've been asked to find hot ice or a brooch that's ornate yet understated. But in truth, such paradoxical states of energy may not be so far-fetched as we might think. After all, the flame you found that we now use as a medium to augment Arcana is one into which I can thrust my whole hand without any risk of harm. And the items I just mentioned, by way of example, those do actually exist. And that's why, strange as it may sound, I think we should seek out this counterbalancing energy. Haha, you're giving me that look, but trust me, I'm almost certainly in my right mind. The key point here is that a substance possessing such a paradoxical combination of opposing qualities will almost certainly be so because it is acting or acted upon by powerful forces in its environment. That being the case, I think our best chance to locate such a strange material would be in a place where the natural environs are either very hot or very cold. But since we discovered the flint that held the secret of smoldering threads in a volcanic area, which is about as hot as environments get, I would prefer to start our research by investigating somewhere extremely cold. Unfortunately, even after poring over recent reports from the Geological Society, I haven't found anything that would tip me off to the presence of noteworthy phenomena. There are, however, two obvious regions colder than the rest: Side Sneecha and Physis. Since Physis lies across the sea, I think investigating our continent's own snowbound reaches would be the better choice for you. The village of Tyr lies just south of the mountains, and I think it prudent to begin any investigation there to see what the locals know. To that end, I think you, who are well known to the people there, would fare far better than I in gathering of information. It sounds like everyone is already on edge thanks to what happened with the strange deer. With a familiar face around, they'd at least feel like they could go about their normal lives while you're there conducting your search. Anyway, that's about the long and short of it. Head to Sidesnicha and search the surrounding mountains for anything that might meet the criteria we're looking for. Meanwhile, I need to arrange passage on a ship bound for Port Sella. If I handle the Physis region myself, that's one less thing for you to worry about. Oh my god. So I gotta go back. Okay, so I gotta go back to here. Let's say this. Teleport. Wait. Oh my god. They're playing, what's it? Astronomia. Yeah. Dokkan. Oh, good to see you. Yeah. Now, perhaps these old eyes deceive me, but I might have caught you in one of your less busy moments. Whenever I see you running to and fro, my heart swells with pride to see you so involved, but I sometimes feel a twinge of guilt that anything I might ask of you just adds one more burden to the lot. I can still remember the day you first showed up, dressed like you'd rolled out of bed and gripping your weapon with all the finesse of a sledgehammer. Maybe that's why I feel a bit of nostalgia when I see how far you've come. Perhaps it's all the ruckus with those strange deer we've had. But I've been recalling those times more and more often lately. Nothing you need to concern yourself with. Just an old man thinking of days gone by. You have a way of showing up when there's some threat or problem to be dealt with, and I suppose I tend to think of you that way, even when you simply show up to say hello. Oh, whoops. Winter's cold has visited us earlier this year, and And I've heard word is going around that those strange deer originally came from the north. That's left here quieter than usual recently. Not that a few uneventful days are unwelcome. Ah, you're always willing to let me ramble away on these tangents. I think perhaps you indulge me too much. But come, I can see you have something on your mind. Speak up. If it's anything I can help with, I'd be glad to. A frozen flame. Yeah. Duncan's brows furrows in contemplative expectation as he invites you to speak. I told you about the old legend surrounding Kilich, right? The tales say that the flames she enkindles are as cold as a winter's night. You remember how I said that the wood she burns represents the years gone by? Well, it follows that with the warmth and potential of spring and summer already spent, such fuel would burn cold. Still, I couldn't hazard a guess as to where one might find Kilich. Those who went up into the mountains hoping to catch a glimpse of what was written in that book came back empty handed. You needn't look so disappointed, my young friend. I may not know, but that doesn't mean there isn't someone out there who might have a better idea. Fortunately, there's a fellow who comes into Tyr every now and then, an outsider, calls himself a mountain keeper. It seems his work keeps him roaming the northern mountains, where few but the most adventurous of foolhardy dare to tread. I'm not certain what sort of life he leads, but while he's in town, he usually stocks up on food, bandages, and other such sundries. If I were to point you to anyone who could help, he'd be the man. What do you think? Now, just give me a moment. I've got something that may prove useful. Here we are. I've been saving up a few things here and there of the sort I know. He's rather fond of for his handicrafts, beads, colored glass, and the like. It's rare to find people who wouldn't recognize you, or have at least heard of you, but that young man strikes me as the cautious sort. I think giving him something related to his interests like that will help break the ice. It's always easier to ask for help from someone you're on friendly terms with. It's nothing expensive, just assorted knickknacks, so please go on and take it. Smooth glass shards in a variety of colors, small silver gems, rounded pebbles, beads, and a variety of other items. Nora told me that after he helped her out with something, she gave him a few materials like these, and he seemed quite happy to have them. I hope he'll like my little collection as much as he did Nora's. Last I saw him, he said he was rooming in the inn for a few days. Yeah. Go check there and see if you can find him. I hope you'll find the information you seek. But whatever may come, know that you'll always be welcome here in Tyr, with a hot meal and a soft bed as often as we can spare them. Feel free to stop by any time. It would be nice to actually have a usable house. Kinda sad that the homestead is pretty limited on the house thing. Always good to see you around here. Did you happen to meet a man on your way here? A youthful fellow, and rather easy on the eyes? Right, he seemed interested in meeting you in person. I promised him I'd tell you he was looking for you the next time you were in Tyr, but with everything that's happened recently, I'm afraid to say it completely slipped my mind. He seemed a bit disheartened when I admitted my forgetfulness, but he said it was fine, and that he'd linger in the area for a while, since he knew you'd be coming soon. Bit of an odd fellow, isn't he? If he wanted to meet with you, you'd think he could just send a letter like most people do. I even told him as much, that if it's an urgent matter he needs your help with, the fastest way to reach you would be sending an owl with a message. but he politely declined, saying that it's only proper for introductions to be made face to face. It's rare you meet his sort these days, no? Ask if that man is a mountain keeper. Hmm. Oh, you're bang on. When we first met, he introduced himself as a mountain keeper. He tends to keep to himself, but every now and then he'll tell me stories about the things he's seen in the mountains, up in the mountains. Since you're asking, does that mean you've come looking for him? Like I said before, I'm not sure where he is at the moment, but he sometimes wanders through the village and around the outskirts hoping to find you, since no one ever really knows when and where you'll show up next. I wonder where he might be now. Ah, I recall him mentioning he prefers to stay out of the sun when possible. Doesn't like being too hot, he said. You don't need an almanac to know the weather in Tyr been downright freezing lately. That's why my uncle and I decided to swap out the sheets and blankets in the rooms to help keep our guests nice and warm. Everyone else was happy to have thicker blankets, but our mountain keeper friend was the only one who declined, saying he was fine without it. Seeing as most travelers who visit Tyr come through the moon gates, rather than taking the old roads, I'd start your search in the area north of town. That icy wind is blowing in from the north. Maybe our mountain keeper has blown in with it. I hope he at least gives you a starting point. Glad to hear it. Now hurry along before you two just barely miss each other again. It's time to head to... Ow. Nice. Why did that one hurt? Find the mountain keeper in the northwest. The place Nora mentioned should be around here. Take a closer look. Examining anything out of place you find lying around might tell you if this is the path the mountain keeper takes into town. Decide to walk around, scanning the ground for anything unusual. Some handicrafts that appear only partially completed rest neatly on a spread cloth, surrounded by colorful and eye-catching bits and bobs. Unfinished threads flutter in the cold wind, and the light glinting off the varied decorations seem to follow the dance of the nearby torches' flames. You've never seen anything quite like it in Tyr. Perhaps it belongs to the outsider Duncan and Nora spoke of. You look around, but see no one. Even the dutiful Trevor seems to have taken a rare moment of leave. If you simply leave the things here, the nearby wildlife might grab a few of the shiny baubles and skitter off to line their nest with their new find. What will you do? Let me think. Do I want to bring it with me or do I want to go? Yeah. Okay, watching it. You worry that if the birds and foxes could damage it, you might also damage it by trying to pick it up. For the moment, you decide to just keep watch over it. But as you're about to take a seat next to the unattended craftwork, you hear light footfalls on the path that leads into town, though you could swear no one was there moments ago. What the? Who's this person? A lean and reticent man stands before you. His hair is the color of unripened wheat, done up in a flat-hearted braid that spills over his shoulders. With eyes of pale and mossy green, he quietly scans his surroundings. A small lantern dangles loosely from his belt, the sunlight glinting off its thick glass panes. The man turns from the dirt road and draws near, looking you over. He is the owner, isn't he? Ask if the materials belong to him. Oh, Liz. Yes, those, what is I? Though, I don't suppose you have any reason to take me at my word. So, let me present some more compelling proof. The young man loosens the clasp to the leather satchel in his belt, removing a few small knickknacks. Here, look at this little orb. I made it myself, so it should at least bear a respectable resemblance to the others there, despite none being perfectly alike. Oh, actually, it just occurred to me that if you harbor serious doubts about this, we could always consult an alchemist to verify that the material's composition is a close match. But fundamentally speaking, the man continues, his eyes darting around the nearby environs. Who in their right mind would tell a complete stranger that a pile of nearly worthless materials was theirs, especially in dangerous times like these? Safer to just let them walk off with the lot of it, especially considering what happened here recently. How's that? Enough to convince you that those things are mine, I hope? I'm convinced enough. Feel a hint of exasperation in his demeanor already. You doubt that anyone who wasn't the rightful owner of this assemblage of parts would have launched into a multi-pronged argument to convince you of their ownership. You tell the man that you accept that he's the owner. You do? Are you sure that was enough to satisfy your doubts? Well, if you say so, I'll not gainsay a point in my favor. Now, if you don't mind, I have a few questions for you. You may know already, but there have been a number of unusual incidents around these parts lately. One would not be unwise to remain on their guard. After all, any number of loathsome entities are capable of hiding themselves behind such an unassuming guise. In other words, before we can continue this conversation, you'll need to allay my fears that you're more dangerous than you seem. You'll need to allay my fears that you're more dangerous than you seem. I'd also like to gather my things, but one step at a time. So, are you willing to answer my questions? It looks like you'll need to prove to the man that you don't represent a threat before he'll speak with you further, ready to field whatever questions he might have. This area sees a surprising amount of visitors despite its remoteness, but in recent times, even that has slowed to a trickle, owing in part to the cold. No doubt also the incidents with those strange blue deer. Now, considering that you were waiting patiently by a pile of largely worthless objects despite that, my guess is that you've come specifically to see me, is that correct? I came to find the Mountain Keeper. You tell him you're looking for something and that you're seeking the aid of a Mountain Keeper. Curious, I've yet to mention my profession, and yet you seem quite sure that I am one of these Mountain Keepers. I'm certain this is the first time we've met. I would have remembered a face like yours. After all that, I'm sorry to say it, but I'm afraid I don't find you trustworthy enough. Uh-oh. Wait, what? Oh, you have to have the right information? Man. Ah, that's super annoying. Oh, okay, so I'm looking at the guide. So basically, because of my prior actions, I ended up having already like a high amount of wariness. Okay, so that means I have to. If option is defeated, check the glittering effect. Oh. Okay, so that means I have to do. So either one, those ones will still be about the same. Oh, I didn't even notice this at first. Let's see. Yes, those are mine. Hmm. Okay, so it should be at the first dialogue. I would actually need to take the other one, so this one. You wag your finger, telling the man that, while a good start, the evidence he provided isn't enough to convince you of his ownership of the materials laid on the cloth. With a mischievous nod, you invite him to present additional proof for your consideration. Well, if you happen to look beneath the things piled up there, you'll see my name. Ah, don't touch it though. The mobile is coming together, but it's in a delicate state. I'd hate for the whole thing to fall apart and have to start from square one. Now, if you don't mind, I have a few questions for you. So are you willing to answer a few check on so so I probably want to use this one. And then okay, so you're not sure whether this man is the mountain keeper you're looking for. Instead of giving him a direct answer, you instead relay what Nora told you. Well, if Nora said so, I must be the mountain keeper you're looking for. The question then is, what business do you have with me? I heard you were looking for me. You tell him you heard that a mountain keeper was looking for you. They readily shared that much with you, did they? You must be on close terms indeed with the people of Tyr. I still have my doubts, but based on our conversation, I feel I can at least make a small request of you. Would you step back for a moment? I'd like to retrieve my belongings. Oh. You're still a bit close for comfort. A bit further if you would. Really? Okay, that should be far enough. When you open enough distance between yourself and the pile of things lying on the cloth, the mountain keeper approaches the incomplete mobile and bends down to gather the parts. With each deft movement of his hands, the mountain keeper plucks the glimmering baubles and ornaments from the ground, and the pile quickly disappears like the morning dew. Frankly, I was a bit bewildered that someone as famous as you would fall for this simple of a ruse. That's why I had my doubts as to whether you were truly Oswald. What ruse? Wait, does this change? Okay, so that one doesn't change anything. Okay, so I should be fine from here. People talk about you, you know. They say you're the genuine article, a true rarity in these times. Someone who's willing to lend a helping hand to those in need, no matter their wealth or rank or status. This is just what I've overheard, though. So perhaps I didn't have the full context. Anyway, it occurred to me that if I chose a unique enough item to lose, it might improve my odds of meeting you. At any rate, I apologize for playing on your good-hearted nature, but I figured it would be less bothersome than having a stranger simply request to meet you out of the blue. This way, I could choose the time and the location without having to work it out with you in advance. Since we'd never met, and I was the one who had a request to make, I figured it was best to be mindful about the approach I took. As for the little interrogation, I'd heard you'd helped out those children who'd been rendered unconscious by that strange deer, but well, I didn't see it with my own two eyes. That's why I wanted to confirm for myself what sort of person you are. I wanted to see whether you'd question me because I was a stranger who showed up where the incident first occurred, and of course, I wanted to assess whether you yourself truly had nothing to do with it. Basic precautions like that. However, as he casts a sidelong glance at the road leading into town, you wonder whether he'll simply turn and bolt. Just then, you recall that you received something that might prove helpful in easing the tension. Now, what is it? Now, what was it? You offer him the box of gleaming miscellany that you received from Duncan. Oh? Well, would you look at that? You think you see a hint of a sparkle in the Mountain Keeper's eyes as his gaze falls squarely on the box in your hands. You mean to entice me into a conversation? Ah, I suppose the townspeople gave you that bit of advice as well. In that case, to doubt you further would be a discourtesy to them. It may have been rude of me to impose on you like that, but thank you for indulging me. Uh, I haven't finished organizing these properly. Could you wait a bit and speak with me then? The knots are in a delicate state right now. It'd be all too easy to foul them up and have to start retying them from scratch. I won't run away. You can approach me. Let's see. The Minekeeper finally speaks. It's a mobile, or will be anyway. It's at that stage where I'm not sure whether I'd say I'm making it or fixing it. But either way, once I'm done, it'll be a proper mobile. My fellow mountain keepers all know how to make these and frequently carry them. They serve as a sort of identifying signature, telling who we are and where we're from. They have a few niche magical uses too, but nothing that might be employed at present, so I won't bother going into that. The Mountain Keeper takes the incomplete mobile and its components in hand and carefully places them in his bag. I appreciate your patience. I wasn't just puttering around. While I put my things away, I was considering what we ought to speak of first. There wasn't much time to mull things over, but enough to decide where to begin. That is, I think a proper introduction is finally in order. Your name may be known in every corner of the land, but I'm certainly no one of particular importance. My name is Louis Nietzsche? Huh? I don't understand some of these names. I'm a mountain keeper, and my duties include guiding those who are injured or lose their way in the mountains. Due to the nature of my occupation, I seldom come down into the lowlands without good cause. Wait, I seldom come down into the lowlands without good cause. Because of that, I'm certain our paths have never crossed, despite the wide circle of friends and acquaintances you surely have. That being the usual way of things, my presence here should speak for itself. There's been some trouble in the mountains, and I'm presently staying in Tyr while I look for someone who might be able to help. I met with several people already, though it's proven difficult to find someone who possesses all the qualities I consider necessary. Having heard from some of them of the many challenges you've overcome, I decided to reach out to you. Ugh. Ah, right. To me, these sorts of requirements go without saying, but they've been harder to find than I expected among the lowlanders. Mountain trails are rocky and uneven, so I need someone capable of navigating the terrain well enough to keep pace with me. In addition, they need to be skilled in some art of defense, as there have been dangerous things afoot lately. Beyond that, this is in some ways a personal matter, as it concerns my livelihood, so I was hoping to find someone trustworthy, someone not inclined to gossip. As it turns out, there are fewer people than I'd expected who possess all these qualities. I continued searching without much luck, but then I happened to meet two children. They told me the story of a hero who started their journey amid a field of snowmen, and in that moment, I remembered the stories I heard about you. I figured that the champion of all those tales would not only be able to trek through the mountains, but would assume I could trust. Uh, Mountain keepers like me don't often have the opportunity to visit the lowlands. Some of the others are even more remote than I, so I used to pass on whatever news or stories I heard on my trips down them from the mountains. For instance, I heard a story about you making a courageous stand against a legendary worm that descended upon the royal castle, setting the whole place ablaze. I may not live and work in the lowlands with you, but I feel like I'm acquainted with you, after a fashion, from all those stories. Ahem. Since I heard you were in Tyr on some business regarding the strange happenings in the village, I figured that sooner or later you'd circle back to check on things. Since you've solved many a problem in your time, I expected that you might be just the person to help me deal with my present situation. To that end, I'd like to propose a deal with you. I'm asking for your help, but I also offer you my aid as well. Think of it as a kind of informal contract, an agreement in which each offers what the other needs. A practical example would save me from having to explain in detail, so let us try this. I'll assist you with some matter of your choosing. If you're satisfied with the results, I would ask that you return the favor and help me. Ordinarily, I wouldn't even think of doing things this way, but it is you I'm asking. I'm sure you hear many such pleas, and I wanted to ensure our agreement isn't manifestly slanted in my favor. But you should know that for while I'm desperate for help of any kind, I have my doubts as to whether there is anything I can offer that would truly be of value to you. That's why I figured setting up our deals such that you stand to benefit before anything is even asked of you would help to balance the scales, at least to some extent. So, what do you think? Hmm. Conducting an investigation would surely go faster working together than doing it alone. I mentioned that it might be helpful to call on others to aid in this search, as it should be fine. Oh, I thank you for placing your trust in me. I'll do my utmost to ensure you have no cause to regret your decision. Could we perhaps pause for a moment? I feel the onset of a headache. Probably all the worrying I've been doing. Give it a minute and continue speaking. How much more is there to this? God dang, there's still a couple. I pray I didn't keep you waiting too long. Leave it to my nerves to get the better of me at a time like this. It's the first time I've offered such an arrangement to anyone. Given who you are, if you thought to call on me rather than any of the multitudes of people you know, I figure it must either be a truly urgent matter or one involving things that must be kept secret from the general public. It's not that urgent. You tell him it's not a matter of any grave urgency, certainly not on the level where lives hang in the balance. I see. I was worried, but that's a relief to know. So, what is it then that brings you to me? I'm looking for a cold flame. It is fine if it just burns cold. Something that burns but is cold? It would probably be in a frozen state. Was I seeing to organize his thoughts, linger, fingers tap the thick glass panes of his lantern. The light of day shines through the lantern's glass as it sways gently, giving expression to the rhythm of his thoughts. After a few moments of contemplation, Louis opens his eyes, seeming to have collected his thoughts. Honestly, had anyone else approached me with a task like this, might have told him to try their luck elsewhere. However, I'll put my trust in you, because I know how things that seem at first fantastical have a way of cropping up around you. As this unknown substance you see is either cold or frozen outright, I'd say the best place to begin our search would be in Side. Actually, I heard that strange deer seemed to be heading that way as it escaped. So we should probably be on the lookout, lest we run into any trouble. The last of his words fade into the cold wind, as if he were alone and speaking to himself, rather than talking with you. We should begin our search before some fickle wind blankets the ground there in fresh fallen snow. There's a method I often use when I'm searching for something or someone out in the mountains. There's no doubt where. Oh my god. You're no doubt aware that you can learn some things you want to know without having to talk to people or pay an information broker, yes? Sometimes all it takes is a little legwork and deductive reasoning. That's what we'll be looking for. Clues in the environment. I'll keep an eye out for scratches on the trees, faint tracks in the snow, and things of that sort. But something a bit more elementary would be looking for anything that may have been left behind by people. I'd say that reading signs is a good example of this. Those who visit the mountains often feel the need to leave some sort of record behind, especially when they discover something novel or fascinating. For instance, you might find some moss-covered signboard saying, "Clearest lake I've ever seen, straight ahead." Or perhaps something like, "No one's ever reached this high, eh?" And of course, the ever-popular, "So-and-so from Dunbarton was here," scrawled with the date of their momentous hike. Personally, I think people's desire to leave. Hello, welcome, Celsior. Personally, I think people's desire to leave boasts or warnings is more a reflection on them than anything else. But every so often, I'll glean something useful from reading such sources. That's why, if I happen upon one, I'll at least take the time to look it over. The process goes exactly as you think. Check out the ones that draw the most attention first. If you don't find anything worthy of note, other signs in the area are likely to be similar. I just wanted to show support to fellow streamer Maui players. Alright, thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a good lurk. That'll do. Another thing. Wait, what? Another thing it's always beneficial to do is to look at any structures or objects that seem to be representative of the area. It's not so different from reading signs, really. To leave behind a record of your presence only has meaning if someone else can see it and know you were there. And of course, it can pay to give some attention to the places that are considered must-see destinations or landmarks. Even if the area itself sees few travelers, checking out such sites can sometimes offer useful clues. I can attest that some leave traces of their passing in such places because they were too lazy to find the signs or piles of stones or whatever previous visitors might have left behind. Though, if someone is that lazy, I can't help but wonder where they found the initiative to go hiking through the mountains in the first place. Anyway, did you follow all that? What do you think? Yeah, what do you think? Makes sense to me. It seems like a sensible enough plan, and Lewis has no doubt found many things in these mountains. Then it seems we're all set. I don't always advise splitting up, but in this case, we can cover more ground that way. I'll search the northern reaches of Side and leave the southern area to you. I think the northernmost areas may be a bit difficult to investigate thoroughly with just the method I outlined to you, which is why I'll focus my own efforts there. Let's meet back here when we've concluded our searches. Oh, and be wary of hungry coyotes and icy patches of ground. Examine the signboards in the southern field of Seeding. Okay, so time to head over here. So much. How much more is there to this? Beware the coyotes, they bite. Ronald. Snowlands too. Okay, where's that? Did you look closely? Did you really? Did you risk your life to catch a glimpse? An ancient druid's last will rebuking his disciples for their foolishness. Did you look closely? What am I supposed to be looking closely at? That's very strange. No mention of flames yet. You read the rest of what's written on the sign. There's nothing. I should look elsewhere. Where do you look? Let's search the pathway. Since you're headed the walkway. The sign placed by the Royal Ministry of Culture and Tourism contains a brief explanation of the Field of Snowmen. The boy you saved said he came here to find them. Perhaps you should give this landmark a fresh look. Oh. Test. Wait, is this still catching? Okay. The sign placed by the Royal Ministry. The boy you saved said he came here. Perhaps you should look at the landmark as well. Right, so this one. You look out around the snowman. You find nothing out of the ordinary. Now, there remains only the path one must take if headed further north. Inspect the structure. Examine the pathway. You see a lantern glowing, but it doesn't really seem cold. We've looked at everything noteworthy in the area. We can confidently say that there aren't any clues here related to the cold flame. Return to Lewis. Come on. Damn it. Ugh. Keep getting stuck on everything.